My name is Sydney Zilke, and this is my presentation on my Biz Cafe. The name of my cafe is the Lightning Bolt Cafe. The graphic I put together with two little girls who are like my little sister. They gave me the input. Is shown right here on the left, and that would be used um, in some capacity within my cafe, possibly on the menus, with the story of how this came to be, and or with advertisement and promotional deals and everything like that. Always telling the story of how this graphic came to be. The lightning bolt shown to the right, it would be my logo. This is what would be on my cups and other such marketing if I ever had t-shirts or anything like that. So now we're going to focus on the objectives of my company as I was building this company in the beginning. These were some of the objectives I wanted to focus on, and there are three in particular that I want to talk about today. These three are brand awareness, increasing sales, and customer satisfaction. So I want to build a brand as I build the cafe. So I want people in the community to know the cafe as a place of light and as an atmosphere where everyone feels welcomed and accepted. In order for that to be what the brand is known for, I have to get the brand out into the world and begin to build awareness through advertising and promotion. Additionally, an objective is to build sales in order to increase net income and work towards paying off the loan and increasing profit to continue investing into this company. Lastly, a major objective is to have satisfied customers. I want to have customers leave the cafe with higher expectations than when they came in. So that means that I want people to come in and feel taken care of, like they were important, and like the cafe just took care of them and made them feel like $1,000,000. So those are three main business objectives that I would want my cafe to work for, and those are three measurable things that I would track growth and progress in. Next, we have the rationale behind the startup decisions that I made. So first, we have the espresso machine and the furnishing. So the first decision I made is the espresso machine. I chose the high capacity espresso machine because one of my objectives was customer satisfaction, and I wanted to ensure that as the company grew, the employees were able to maintain the pace of growth. And with that, I figured the upfront investment of a larger piece of equipment would pay for itself down the line when more product was able to be sold. Next, I decided on used furniture because I wanted the cafe to have a home-like feel, and I felt as though it would make customers feel more comfortable to feel like, oh, it's furniture I may have seen before. It feels familiar, and that would make it feel more like home to people. The next decision is the number of managers and servers. Sorry about that. So first, the number of managers was already set for us in the first week, and it was set on 2. So that helped me in the decision of how many servers because that limited the amount of hours. And I knew I wanted to have 2 servers per hour. That way that they weren't feeling overworked or overwhelmed, and therefore I put 2 servers per hour, which left me with 15 servers. Next, we have the price. I set the price at $4 originally because it was my only source of income, the medium cup was, and based off the number of cups I was projected to sell, I needed to charge at least $4 to come close to earning any sort of net income for the week, any sort of profit over the amount of liabilities that I had in that week. Next, we have promotion. So in hindsight, I would have begun with a promotional deal or more promotion, probably 10 a day. However, in the beginning, I decided to get my name out there first and advertise for awareness in order to get traffic through the cafe so that before I started discounting anything in order to bring in some income before I started losing any money. I only did 5 slots a day for radio because I found it to be quite expensive, but I quickly changed that decision the next week when I realized that that's how I was going to get business through the door. The next 3 I have, or I'm going to discuss, are The next one is operating hours. So I decided to be open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. initially. I wanted to be open a decent amount of hours per day. I ultimately made the decision based on the preset amount of managers I was allowed to have, knowing that I would need one per hour, including the hour before opening and closing. Therefore, this left me with a certain amount of hours available, so I figured out the number of hours per day that I could have in order for a manager to be there an hour before and an hour after opening and closing. So this left me with that amount of hours, and therefore those are the hours I set for the week. Next, I chose for coffee type organic coffee because it's the best coffee, and I want my cafe to be a higher scale coffee shop, and because I could charge more per cup for organic coffee. Additionally, I kind of wanted to have my shop have an organic vibe, an organic feel, and organic coffee helped aid that. Lastly, for the initial amount of cups I chose to buy the 20,000 outright because they were cheaper per unit in higher quantities and in the highest quantity, and I knew throughout the course of the simulation that I would use all of them and none of them they don't go bad, and therefore they wouldn't go to waste because you always need cups to sell. Next, we have the overall performance of the company based on a couple of different specific things. And so the first thing we have is the income statement. So I provided a picture right here, a graphic of the income statement, my final one based on week 12. And so it shows year to date on the right side, so that would be my ultimate final. So I assume I'm analyzing the overall performance of my company based on the information provided through the income statement and the other things listed in later slides. I would say that I brought in a lot of revenue and ended positive, which is a definite win in the business world, especially within your first year of business. My cost of goods was very high, and I think I would need to reevaluate pricing of my products if I were to do this again, seeing as I had organic coffee and could have charged more per cup to offset those prices in the long run. Next, I have the balance sheet. So I did the same thing and attached a copy of it. So as seen through this picture, my assets were $37,545.73, as were my liabilities and equities. From another class that I'm taking for my business degree, I've learned that analyzing based on the liquidity ratio is how you can tell how strong your balance sheet is. So I determined my liquidity ratio to be 0.97, which is extremely high. It means my business is extremely liquid, which basically means that my assets could be turned to cash very easily. Which means that my business is rather healthy, and therefore the balance sheet shows that my business is healthy and that it is a good business for it being in the first year. Next, we have the cumulative net profit, which was $12,545.73. Overall, for this being a simulation in my first round of business, I would say that this is really good. My net income was positive, therefore I did not incur a loss overall, which means I started earning money to pay back the loan and then therefore started earning money to continue to invest into my business. So the next one we have is the cumulative net profit margin, which was 9%. Usually you look for your cumulative net profit margin to be 10% or above, however mine is at 9%. And I would say that this shows that my business was overall rather successful, seeing as it was the first time that I'd ever done anything like this. Next, we have the overall performance of capacity utilization ratio. So I attached the graph right here from the simulation that shows like weekly how I did. And as you can see, the blue line represents the industry average and the red line is my company average. And as you can see, I'm below the industry average. So this was the area I struggled with the most with my simulation. As I was always below the industry average and could never understand the reason as to why. I peaked right here in week 5, and then I dropped off again in 6 and continually built back up into the final week. my final ratio in my final week was 67.6%, which you can see is well below the industry average. Next, we have customer satisfaction rating. So the lines in this graph represent the same thing. So blue is the industry average and red is my company. So my overall performance can be seen in the graph as my customer satisfaction gradually increased, however, took a slight turn in week 7 to 8 and decreased at a rather gradual rate, however noticeable, and my final week was 72.5% overall customer satisfaction, which is okay. That would be something that I would definitely look at increasing if the simulation were to continue. One concept that I came to understand through this simulation is the concept of management and what it means to its entirety. Oftentimes, management is seen as just managing people. However, I've learned through this simulation that management is so much more when it comes to business. It has everything to do with how the business is run, and it truly is what allows the business to function. It refers to the management of people, products, materials, and anything. Basically, it has to do with the planning of everything that goes behind the scenes in a business, which is incredible, and I didn't understand how much management had to do with the running of a business. Lastly, I will be discussing how this simulation has helped in my decision-making process and what I will learn or take from this simulation and apply to my own career in decision-making as I continue on. So one thing that I have definitely learned from this simulation I have gained from this simulation is the ability to compile information and then analyze that same information. This allows you to make the most educated decision rather than just what you thought would be the best decision. It is a super simple concept that we often do not realize we are completely missing. Oftentimes we make decisions solely based off of what we feel or our preconceived notions, but there's a huge benefit in gathering information and utilizing it strategically in order to make the most informed and educated decision, even in the small things. I think like for this simulation, even in deciding a logo and deciding how many cups to buy, researching those things and compiling information and then analyzing that information as to how those small decisions could affect you in the long run. So small investments will save you in the long run when it comes to decision making, and that would be one of the biggest lessons I learned from this case. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. Thank you for this class and this simulation. This was by far one of my favorite classes that I took in this semester. So I look forward to applying a lot of the concepts that I learned from this class in further classes, as well as in my future business and everything like that. Thank you so much.